Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Mujer De Éxito Unbounded. My name is Marti Angel. I am the host, Marti Angel. I am your host for the Mujer De Éxito Unbounded. And today is Wednesday, and you know I always record live on Wednesdays, but today I am diving into something that can truly transform your business and your mindset. Hey everybody, if you're just joining me right now, my name is Marti Angel, Marti Angel, and I am the host for Mujer De Éxito Unbounded, and I am asking you that if you are watching me live on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, subscribe and hit that bell. And if you like what I say, please share it out. It helps me to grow my channel so that I can actually get out and share this information with even more BIPOC, Latina, mujer, women entrepreneurs. So let's get to it. Once again, if you're watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, thank you so much. Now, you might be thinking, what does that even mean? Like, what does sharing from your scars and not your wounds mean? If you're like me, I was a little bit confused. And as a power manifester that I am, I was getting lost in the difference of the two. And then I was manifesting things that I really didn't want, that I really didn't desire, that I really would not have called forward. So today I'm going to explain to you the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself and your business. So let's get to it, okay? So once again, if you're watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, thank you. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell. Okay, so let's talk about the business of sharing your sharing your scars and not your wounds, and to share the lessons that you've learned through your struggles. So that's basically, it's for you to share. So sharing from your scars means that you're sharing the lessons you've learned through your struggles. When you're sharing from your wounds, you've got to really be in tune, because if you are sharing something and it brings tears to your eyes, or it makes your tummy turn, or whatever that physical sensation is that you are feeling other than, maybe excitement, that's pain. That's the pain from your past. That's a wound. So it means that it's still open. You haven't healed it, and so it's going to bleed. That's basically what it means. It's that it's going to, bleed into your present. So what you're doing when you share and you're feeling it, I'm not saying don't feel it, but acknowledge that you're feeling it. Take a deep breath. And then decide whether or not this is something you really want to share right now as you're in pain of it, or can you share it without even feeling it? Let me give you an example. And I said to you, all of you that are watching me, that it would be my story, right? Well, in 2005, I was attacked. My integrity was attacked, to the point where they said I had stolen money, which wasn't true, and dragged through the courts and all that other thing. But so for the longest time, I could not share without crying, without feeling anything. So at that point, whenever I shared, I was actually sharing my wounds. I was opening up my wounds. And I would get angry at myself until I realized that I was sharing from my wounds. Then it was like, you know what? I got to stop this. I got to go over here and heal, so that when I share, it's just an event. And what did I learn from it? So you have to be careful that when you're sharing, it's not from the pain of your past. You've got to be sharing about how you grew from that pain, how you can talk about that pain without feeling the pain. It's about showing others your growth. It's about showing others your resilience. It's about showing others your stamina, your strength. It's about sharing your story about how you overcame the hardest moments and turned them into stepping stones. That's what it's all about. So let's get into it. Let me share my story again from school principal to where I am today, Mujerpreneur. I've been on quite the journey. Before I became the business coach that you know me as today, I was a high school principal managing a school of 1,500 students. I had 125 teachers reporting to me. I had approximately 50 support staff and over 4,000 parents and community members wanting to know what I was doing in the school. So I was making a great income and I thought I was thriving. But you know something, you know how that feeling that something's just not right? And you know that when life takes a turn and throws you a curveball, wow, that's what happened to me. Life had thrown me a curveball. But I called it to me being a manifester. And let me explain to you why. I can remember so clearly, I actually got promoted to school principal. I actually beat out 71 other candidates. But the people that actually picked me were the community members, the students, and the teachers. It wasn't the district office or anything like that. So they had faith in me, and they had faith in the fact that I was going to be able to represent the school and their community, because they had never had a Latina before, even though 86% of the population in that school was Latino, right? So everything was going along, but I got sick, and then my personal secretary, I allowed her to come to my house to take notes. And one day she says to me, "Oh, you know what they're saying things about you? Here's what they're saying." And then she started to gossip. And I was so vulnerable that and so porous, if you will, that I sucked it up as if I were a sponge. And what I found myself doing was going to work, but always feeling like somebody wanted to take my place, that somebody wanted my position, that something was going to happen and that they were going to demote me. And so I walked through, and I can still remember feeling that, like driving up and feeling like, okay, I'm here today, but something might happen. And, what am I going to do? I was already planning for what I was going to do if something happened. With that planning, I'm going to tell you, as an uncanny manifester that I am, that thought created an emotion that was what actually turned on the throttle and everything to pull all the nastiness toward me. But here's what happened. I was falsely, and I mean falsely, because after all was said and done, they could not have, they didn't have the evidence they thought they did or anything. I was falsely accused of wrongdoing by the people that I trusted. It was my secretary and her cousin. And these false accusations attacked my integrity, which is my number one value. So my whole world came tumbling down. My core value, integrity, was actually attacked. And I'll be honest with you, that brought me to my knees. For a while, I couldn't even talk about it. I was embarrassed about it. I was devastated. I felt betrayed. People that I thought were my friends all of a sudden were not my friends. Nobody came to see me. Nobody called. Even though the district office said, you guys, leave her alone. You can't talk to her. I was actually locked out of my office. So I was called into the district office. While I was there, they locked me out of my office. They took all of my personal belongings, locked me out of my office, stuck them in supposedly in a box, which to this day, that box has never been found. At that point in time, I realized something. I realized that I was the one calling this to me. And I was devastated and I felt betrayed. And yes, there was financial loss. There was a big financial loss. Imagine going from this nice 6-figure income to a 0-figure income in less than one day. And the bad thing about that was that I had all my eggs in that basket. And I talk about that a lot. Now I'm a multiple streams queen and I've got money coming in from different avenues. But at that point in time, my biggest income stream was that one. And when it came tumbling down, I had nothing. So imagine trying to pay your mortgage and all your bills with no income. But I began to heal. I let that go. I began to do things, and change everything, and I healed. And as I was healing, I realized something incredible. I realized, but it took years, I realized that the skills that I had learned as a principal, managing all the moving parts of a school, were the same skills I needed to run my own leadership coaching business. And I was like, whoa, I was really successful. I had taken a school out of program improvement in 3 years before I was attacked. So let me just share with you now the power of the scar, because now I'm okay with it. I can talk about it and no feelings whatsoever, right? But here's where the real lesson comes in. A wound is something that's still raw. Like I said before, that hurts when you talk about it, that makes you cry when you think about it, that makes you emotional. It's painful, it's unresolved, and it will hold us back. On the other hand, when you speak of a situation from the perspective of it being a scar, on the other hand, is what remains after the healing. So a scar is evidence of strength, growth, and resilience. Here I am, podcaster. I became a international best-selling author for Latinas. This podcast is growing very big. I've got, over 1,000 subscribers on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel. I'm a speaker. I love what I do, but I could not have done all of that and continue to do that had I not healed. So once you work through your challenges and you have learned from them, it's time to share that wisdom, not the pain. But here's where the tricky part came for me, and this is why I'm sharing this, so that it can help you. I spent so much time focusing on my wound and what I had lost, the false accusations and the hurt that came from it, that I couldn't see my way forward. But the moment that I started to embrace my scar, that healed version of my story, I realized that it wasn't about the hurt anymore. It was more about me asking myself self-coaching questions like, what are the lessons I learned? What did I learn from being a school principal? how can those lessons help me rebuild my life? And then I looked back and I thought, whoa, I have just rebuilt my life. I had transformed that situation into a source of strength. Now, mind you, it was years afterwards, because I'll be honest with you, it took me a while to get over that. It took my family a while to get over that, because it took us from a place of a beautiful home and comfort to losing that home. And at the same time, while that was happening to me, the real estate market was tanking and people were losing their homes. And so what was happening to me, according to my astrologer and spiritual guider, he said that I had an uncanny position because I was actually leading the downfall of all of this. And I was like, oh, okay. So you're probably asking, why does this matter for your business? Well, I'm here to tell you that at the same time that was going on, I had to really look and see what I had done as a principal. What are the tasks? What are my, what resources did I use? How did I manage? How did I muddle my way through? Because I'll tell you what, going from an assistant principal to principal, they don't tell you how to manage. They don't teach you how to manage. They just say to you, okay, you are the principal. Here's, I was given $45,000 a year to manage the budget, to be able to teach these 1,500 kids and pay all my teachers and do all of that. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? But so I had to learn how to be a bookkeeper. I had to learn how to do financial statements. I had to learn how to be a task manager. I had to learn how to manage my time. I had to learn how to be a speaker. I had to learn how to connect with people. I had a lot of learnings. And when I started to write them down, what did I learn? As an entrepreneur, I realized, oh my goodness, this is just exactly like running a business. And I was running the business. I was running the business of education. So think about this. While it's important for you to process the pain of your challenges, it's even more important to share your journey once you've learned from it, and your scars are the parts of your story that can connect you to your audience, or vice versa, can connect your audience to you. You see, I was in a very dark place. Very dark. I didn't think I was ever going to come over it. In fact, I remember praying to God to take me, to not let me wake up the next morning. It was just too hard a burden for me to bear. So I've been there. When you say things aren't working out for me, I have been there. I have been there. People, and I want you to know, mujeres hermosas, chulas, I want you to know that when you start speaking from your scars, you have overcome your obstacles. You have risen above adversity. You now have lessons to share. Lessons that you've learned along the way. And that way, when you share those things, not only do you show your resilience, but you also build trust with your audience. You see, they look at you and they see you as someone who has walked through the fire and come out stronger on the other side. And that's powerful. That's totally powerful. Now, let me share something. As I was going through it, I knew that that for me to be able to turn around, because not only was I accused, but then the district was acting very politically, and they basically made me sign a non-disclosure agreement that I wasn't going to share what was happening to me, right? And then they said, we are going to have to blackball you. because your administrative credential will be taken away and your teaching credential will be taken away. And I said to them, but I have never, you cannot take away my teaching credential or my admin credential because I never hurt any students. There was nothing involving students. All this was, believe it or not, was the fact in the end of the day, was the fact that my secretary and her cousin were stealing money from the budget. And unfortunately, I was actually starting to come into seeing that. And before they wanted me to see that, or they wanted me to turn them in, they concocted a story, set things up, and then said that I was the one that was stealing. The good thing is that as the attorneys that I hired and the CPAs I hired to audit the district, what we found was that money was being misspent from other people in the district and other secretaries. You see, my secretary that turned me in was making more money than a teacher's salary. Now, that's not right. Not normally. So I can see how they were scared that I was going to turn them in. So they figured, let's take her down before she takes us down. And see, now I can talk about it and I don't feel anything. I don't feel like I hate that person. I don't feel it. It's just what happened, right? And I can remember so clearly, right? But I get it. I get it. In the end of the day, you want to know, well, did they take your degrees away from you? Did they take your certifications? No. I still have my teaching credential because, after going through all of that, which actually took about 2 years, I was placed in front of the Board of Education, and they did not find any evidence to substantiate the claims that they said I was doing. So at the end of the day, what was my little thing? Yeah, my little thing was, okay, well, let's just suspend her admin credential for 30 days. That was the least they could do. But they didn't do anything to my teaching credential. I still have my teaching credential. I still have my admin credential. I have everything. So at the end of the day, what did I learn? I learned that as I was moving through, that fear was not my friend, that I needed to walk in certainty and in clarity, knowing that what I had done was actually make myself stronger. So I get it, though. I get it. It's scary to share your story, especially when the parts have been so painful as mine were, right? I had to go from owning a home to renting a home. And if and that when you rent, it's really hard to save so that you can buy again. And here in California, to this day, the real estate market is still crazy. But, mujeres hermosas, chulas, if you can find the strength to share your scars, you are going to build a deep connection with your audience. So how do you do that? Well, first, you have to understand the difference between a wound and a scar, right? Once again, if you're still healing from something, that's okay. Then know that that's not the time to share that. It's important for you to honor yourself. It's important for you to honor the space where you are at this moment. But once you reach that point where you can talk about your struggles without being overwhelmed emotionally by them, without feeling anger, without feeling like I've got to get them, that's when you have reached your scar. And it no longer is about the hurt, but now it becomes about your growth. Celebrate your scar. That's one thing I didn't do. Celebrate your scar. It's not too late to celebrate, I guess, right? but celebrate your scar. Once again, if you're watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, thank you. And remember to subscribe and hit that bell. If you're listening to me when this has dropped, anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts, episodes, gracias. Thank you for being here. Let's go back again. To celebrate your scar means that if you're celebrating your scar, that's a mark of your strength. And don't be afraid to share it, because your audience needs to hear your story. The wisdom that you've gained from overcoming your struggles. For example, for me, when I realized that, oh my goodness, I managed all these people, and in retrospect, most of them, I would say like 89 to 95% of them were genuinely pleased with the way I was running the school. So when you can see the strengths, that's where magic happens. And you see, I was so busy drowning in the pain that I didn't see the magic happen. I did not see the magic happen. But I don't want that from you. That's why I'm sharing. I am a very emotional person. I am an empath. So what I was feeling was so down deep that I was, I remember driving and crying and being afraid to go to the store in case somebody recognized me, because my face was plastered all over the news, and I know now that the news only shows the nasty parts, because what they said had no truth in it at all. So know that. But let me say, hermosa, chula, mujer. If you are ready to transform your wounds into scars, I invite you to join my community of like-minded mujerpreneurs. Inside this community, we support one another, we share our stories, and we grow together. And this is where you can get the guidance you need to turn your struggles into successes. So if you're ready to embrace your scar and level up in your business, come join us. All you have to do is drop me a line and say, community, drop a comment and say community, and I will send you the link so you can join the community. Now, I promise you that joining this community is not going to break the bank. As a matter of fact, it's less than a Starbucks coffee every day. So, please join our community. I would love to have you. I would love to coach you, and I would love to tell you all the dirty details of one of my stories, two of my stories. I have lots of stories. But if you're still watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, before you leave, subscribe and hit that bell. Share this episode with somebody that you think might benefit from it. And thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Mujer de Éxito Unbounded, which truly means woman of success without limits. And I hope that this episode inspired you to share your scar and to use it to empower your business and your life. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with other mujerpreneurs who need to hear this message. Yes. So until next time, mujeres hermosas chulas, remember, you are unbounded and the world is waiting for your story and your business is waiting to succeed. So as always, this is Marti Angel, host of Mujer de Éxito, signing off, saying gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.